Peter Charles here, Hooked for Life Fly Fishing, and let's wrap up my series on efficient spey casting. And we're just going to cover over the main points very quickly. Basically, if we want to be efficient in our spey casting, there's a few things we need to do. And one of them is have a very good D-loop, and the other one is about having an efficient forward stroke. If you have a good D-loop and a good forward stroke, you'll get a good cast. The rest of the cast, whether it's a snake roll, parry poke, snap tease, circle spey, double spey, doesn't matter what the cast is. They have to have those two ingredients. They need a good D-loop and a good forward stroke. And you do not get a good forward stroke unless you have a good D-loop. Because if you don't have a D-loop to work with, you're not going to get much of a cast off. So what does it take to get those two things going? Well, as I've said dozens of times in this video series, target fixation is your worst problem. Being locked on the target and instead of paying attention to the cast results in all sorts of bad things. And the first thing we can do to break target fixation is to watch our anchor. That brings over so many good things. First off, your anchor placement becomes very consistent, which is nice. You get a more efficient D-loop with a better placement of the anchor. Secondly, you're starting to rotate the body when you start to look at your anchor. And that begins to improve the forward stroke because we start to break the bad habits of yanking the forward stroke instead of pulling to a smooth stop. And so then with that body movement, we can then transition to actually using the body to make the cast. And when we do that, our whole efficiency level just goes up, our fatigue goes down, our energy usage goes down. We end up being far more consistent because you cannot accelerate the body the way we can accelerate our hands and arms. And so we have to start slowly to begin with. You can't yank with your body. You can yank with your arms. So you end up with a much smoother acceleration into the forward stroke. So we end up with that very efficient forward stroke once the body is engaged in the cast. So get rid of target fixation by watching your anchor, involving the body. All that works to improve our casts. The other thing we can do when we're trying to break ourselves out of bad problems is simply watch everything as much as we possibly can. Tracking your rod tip. If you're having problems with tracking, watch the rod tip. You can start, you look at the anchor, transition up, pick up your rod tip. It's amazing how many things get solved simply by watching what's going on. So if you watch your rod tip, you can solve a lot of tracking problems. If you watch your anchor, you can solve a lot of anchor and other problems. And finally, you get into things like stopping positions and how efficient our stop is and all those sorts of things. Again, once you've involved the body, that becomes easier. So in learning to involving the body, I'm having trouble with involving today. Involve the body, good things start to automatically happen. And to get rid of target fixation, one of the easiest ways is point your lead foot at the target. Once you've done that, you now will lock in on your lead foot automatically. Again, it doesn't matter what cast you're using. If you point your lead foot at the target, as soon as you begin your forward stroke, you'll automatically line up on it. So that's a lot of things I try to put forward is not to teach you to go put your hand here, then put your hand here, then put your hand there, and put your hand here, because you can never remember all that stuff. I try to just give you small things that place your body into the right position. So pointing your lead toe, you end up automatically lining up on the target. Watch your anchor. Right off the bat, you're turning your body and you start to cure a bunch of things. Anchor placement, forward stroke problems, and so on. And then when you involve the body, that even gets even better. Watching your rod tip automatically cures the hands. The flying bottom hand problem or all top hand. As soon as you watch your rod tip and make it go in a straight line, your hands have to follow. You don't have to think about your hands. All you have to do is concentrate on the rod tip. So These simple things, will make a huge improvement in your casting. And the other thing is use the appropriate tool for the job. We've talked about that a number of times. Don't use little rods when you have to cover big water. And this vice versa. Don't use some giant rod with a huge line when you're fishing a little creek. Everything should be proportional to what you're doing, and the lines on the rod should match, not just in grain weight, but also in their length and the way they're designed to perform. And your casting should fit that. So you've got this comprehensive system that starts at the fly and goes back to your feet, that everything works together. So you've got a fly size, a leader, a sink tip, the shooting head, Skagit head, running line, up to the rod, the reel, you. Everything works together seamlessly to deliver the fly to the fish with the presentation that you want. And if you've got anything that's out of sync in that process, where your fly's way too big, your leader's way too long or way too short, your sink tip is way too heavy, anything that sort of goes out of sync, all of a sudden your casting becomes difficult and things start going wrong. And then our normal tendency is we start trying to beat it into submission. When the cast doesn't roll out, it means hit it harder. No, it means figuring out why it's not rolling out properly. Oh yeah, I've got this giant heavily weighted fly and I put it on a 15-foot leader. Oh, that would explain it. So there are various things you can do to improve your casting simply in the way you've put your gear together. So all this works together. Your physical positioning, what you're paying attention to, anchor, rod tip, how you're using your body, and how you've put your rig together, all works together to create efficient spey casting. And as soon as one thing is missing, the whole thing starts to fall apart. I've talked about the lift. A bad lift, bingo, everything else goes to pot. So you have to follow a way of thinking where you're looking at the whole process of spey casting in its entirety, starting from the fly and going to your feet. That whole thing has to work together. And when it does, you'd be surprised at how well your fly will get out there, how smooth those casts will go, and everything will be landing dead straight, and your fly will be fishing right from the beginning, and your odds of catching something go up considerably. So, because we're talking about casting, but the bottom line is this is about fishing, but you can't catch fish if you can't get the fly to the fish. So we start with efficient casting, and then we move on to the fishing. Got a sucker or carp? Ooh, fish. Steelhead. Got him. Well, I hope you enjoyed the series, and we'll be doing a few more things when it comes to casting and fishing, and probably over the course of 2023, we'll add a few more videos, and we'll get back into trout and smallmouth bass, and get back into steelhead in the fall. But we'll keep it going, and we'll concentrate on basically the same theme, just how to be more efficient so you maximize your odds of catching a fish and minimize the fatigue and the frustration. So that'll be what we'll be doing looking forward, and I hope to see you along the way. Cheers.